Welcome everyone to another episode of How Did They Lose? Today we're going to be looking at Michiru versus Mirei, the Four Flames versus the Sealed Ablaze. So before we get into the actual fight, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, or more specifically, the brother in the room. Danji Minae has two very important people in his life. His little sister Mirei, who he did leave behind, who runs the Minae family, went undefeated through the Deluxe qualifiers and has been holding things down while he's gone. And Michiru, his best friend, who he technically sent into a coma, which, okay, fair enough. You have to say that you feel a bit guilty, but he's been gone and away from his little sister for a long ass time. But now Danji's back, and Mirei, very reasonably, wants to know whose side he's on for their upcoming fight. And this man, this poor, brave soul, looked at his little sister and said, "Can't I root for both of you?" Danji, buddy, she went undefeated. She runs the family. She waited for you. You had literally one job you had to say to her. Michiru was in a coma. He's addicted to card fighting though, and I'm not even sure he'll remember all the things you did for him outside of card fighting. He'll probably forget you were even there, my guy. Mirei, on the other hand, will not. Anyways, let's talk about how she lost. I'm going to be tracking Michiru's deck size just for a slight reference in the future, so please tell me in the comments if you actually like me tracking their deck sizes. Turn 1, Michiru rides Julius Draco Kid Glow, while Mirei rides Sealed Blaze Dragon Ahimsa Sua. Michiru discards a random card and rides Jewel Core Dragon Glint. He doesn't have anything currently in his hand, so no faults there. It's Mirei's turn, and she discards a Flare Veil Dragon, a draw trigger, and rides Namorkar Anui. I just like to say thank you to Mirei and the animators for all that they do, because I actually get to see a lot of the cards that she uses just because in the show she is blind, so the viewers need to see from her perspective what she's touching, what she's seeing. So I know it's bad because, you know, she's blind in the show and that caused a lot of problems in the past, but I really like her fights because it's so easy to track. But anyways, back to the fight. From the effect of Ahimsa Sua, the grade 0, she draws a card. And from the effect of Namorkar Anui, because she's going second, she adds a Diava and a Bodanath to her hand. She's got 8 cards in her hand, which is insane, but 2 of those can't be used to guard. She calls nothing and attacks Michiru's Vanguard. She gets a critical trigger. Insane. Michiru gets a Stem Diavante and a Folklore. Unlucky for him, but honestly very lucky for Mirei. Turn 3. Michiru discards a card and writes Draconic Jewel Dragon Luster. Now with the Jewel Core's scale in the soul, when it's rode upon by Luster, you can look at the top 5 cards in your deck and put 2 of them into the soul. I can only see that he put in a Folklore, then he calls a Bifrons. With its effect, he can counterblast 1, look at the top 3 cards in his deck and add 1. 1 to the hand, 1 to the drop, and 1 to the soul. I have no clue what he added or anything because they didn't show it, but if he did add another Bifrons, which is what he ended up having later, using it now, would have actually been great, because if he kind of blasted twice, then he could have, like, I don't know, gone through his deck even faster. I'm not exactly someone to talk to about decks and strategies because I'm not exactly extremely high ranked, but it's important to know what kind of strategies work against certain deck. For example, against Bavsargra, I would recommend just rushing in like hell, because the moment Bodanath gets onto Bavsargra, the moment the grade 3 Bavsargra comes out, getting even 1 damage on her is extremely difficult with the amount of defense and drawing that she can do. I'm not even joking. The defense and offense in that deck is next to none. The drive checks, the drawing, the amount of cards you need to guard with, the armament, it's so difficult to break through. So when you're against Bavsargra, Michiru, I need you to rush like your life depends on it, because I know you had more grade 1s in your hand, so why didn't you call them? He then attacks with Luster first, and attacks with Vanguard. He gets 1 drive and gets a draw trigger. He gives the draw trigger's power to Bifrons naturally and draws a card. Mirei takes the first damage of the fight, a Divistia. Then he attacks with Bifrons, which is at 18,000 power compared to her 8,000 Vanguard. She guards this with a critical trigger she got last turn, making the shield 23,000 power. Now, I actually want to talk about Vanguard strategies here, because there's a somewhat slight problem with what Michiru just did. I'm talking why he attacked with his Vanguard first. The reason is because it's bad if there's luck involved. If and only if there's a chance when you attack with the Vanguard first and get a drive check, but you don't get a trigger, but your opponent does for damage, suddenly your rearguard can attack, and that's gone. But if you attacked with your weaker rearguard first, then you can attack with your Vanguard later even if they get a drive check, and there's still a chance of getting a drive check and doing damage. But the other way doesn't work, you know what I mean? There's still a chance and luck. That's why I'm saying always to attack with your weaker rearguard first. Anyways, now here we have some fun, because I'm not gonna lie, hey, what do you think of a thieving cat? This whole thing with Mirei talking about it, it's so funny. I think out of every fight, this fight was the funniest because the stakes were literally non-existent, and the entire reason for the animosity in this fight was purely one-sided, with Michiru not even close to understanding why Mirei is angry. Well, Mirei is angry because he doesn't understand her. My dude got nothing in his mind besides Vanguard 24/7. Brother, we need to get this guy like an intervention or something. Like, this can't be healthy. Turn 4. It's now Mirei's turn. She discards a card and writes Halibadra Balat. The grade 1 doesn't have any effect when it's written upon by Balat, so nothing there. And so there's no effects here. She then calls a Divestia, and with its effect, she can Soul Blast 1, and with its effect, she can look at the top 7 cards of her deck, and you can add 1 Overdress card to your hand, and then you can send to the drop an Armament card. She then calls another Divestia, but she doesn't use its effect because she doesn't have any Soul Blasts left, but she is rushing. So she attacks now. She attacks with her left side Divestia. Michiru guards with a Rock Argor, which if any of you played the D-Series Vanguard when it first came out, this card was one of the strongest and most terrifying cards when you saw it out in the wild. Like, this thing used to inspire fear. Now it's kind of a house cat, like this thing is not that strong anymore. Rest in peace, bruh. She then attacks with her Vanguard Halibadra, to which Michiru no guards. She drive checks and gets a heal trigger. Her not yet attacked Divestia on the right side gets the extra 10,000 power, but she doesn't get to heal. She got 1 damage while he's at 3. He gets a PG as a damage from the Halibadra attack, and she attacks with her 20,000 power Divestia, to which he no guards again, getting a Bifrons in the damage zone. Now, it's turn 5, and the first grade 3 hits the field. Michiru draws and discards a card, writing his newest grade 3, Demonic Jewel Dragon Emperor, Draw Jewel Magnus Carlson. Demonic Jewel Dragon Emperor, Draw Jeweled Magnus. With the effect of Glint, he soul charges and he gets a draw card. He then calls another Bifrons. Just for context, that means he had 3 at the near top of his deck, which is pretty amazing. That's some luck. He once again activates the effect of 1 to hand, 1 to soul, and 1 to drop. He then calls a Ristal Galer and a Geodrawl. With its effect, the Geodrawl I mean, he soul charges and calls a Folklore from the soul with an Energy Blast 3. Insane, he's got a full field now with boosters and good frontal attacks. The only thing he doesn't have is Restanders, but honestly this field might just be perfect. With the effect of Magnus's effect, the front row gets 5,000 attack. He then attacks with Draw Jewel Magnus. With its effect, he Soul Blasts 4 cards into Soul and he reduces her Vanguard down to 0. Mirei no guards. He's got 2 checks. Small thing here is that he has a heal trigger in the Soul, meaning he's only got 3 left. He gets a Rock Argor and a critical trigger. He gives the 10,000 and the critical to Draw Jewel. Mirei gets hit with 2 damage, a PG, and a Trick Moon. Using Folklore's skill, he retires it and he draws a card. He boosts with Bifrons, then attacks with Ristal Galer. With its effect, he puts the grade 2 Rock Argor into his soul, draws a card, and retires the other Divestia on Mirei's side of the field. Mirei responds by guarding with a draw trigger, and a 10,000 power shield because of its own effect, and a heal trigger, and intercepting with her other Divestia. He then attacks with Geodrawl and she no guards, getting hit for 1 more damage, her Sealed Blaze Axe Tavashtar. Now, there is only one problem with this turn, and I'm pretty sure this time I'm not going crazy like in the Chris Rain fight where I just couldn't read, but I'm pretty sure Michiru can use Draw Jewel Magnus' skill, right? Like giving Geodrawl another 2 drives because he's at 4 damage. Like, why didn't he? He could have discarded a card and gotten another 2 drives. Hell, he might have actually won this fight, right? Oh, maybe that's why. Okay, for reference though, what if he did give Geodraw the extra 2 drives? Answer, he would have gotten a front trigger and either another Geodraw or another Folklore. Either way, if he got Geodraw or Folklore, he would have had another 5,000 shield. Because when Geodrawl is put into the Guardian Circle, it gets 5,000 shield. You can't intercept with it because it doesn't have that effect, but you can put it into the shield and it gets 5,000. And the front row trigger gives an extra 20,000 shield. So if he had actually given those two, he would have actually lived through the next turn completely fine and would have been even better than where he is now. He would have been in an even better position. I have no clue why he didn't, but to each their own. I think the script writers just kind of forgot about it. I'm not quite sure, I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of confusing to me. It's turn 6, and it's Mirei's turn. She draws. She wants to burn Michiru to a crisp now and make her brother completely forget about him, which is crazy. Damn, bro. That's crazy, Mirei. But she discards a card and brings out possibly the most broken grade 3 when it first came out. Bavsargra Akshasha. With the effect of Hali Badra, she counterblasts 1 and she discards 2 arms cards from her deck with different names, and she arms 1 to Bavsargra. She arms a right deity arm Sealed Blaze Sword Divinez from the drop. Her front row gets 5,000 until the end of the turn. And with Bavsargra's effect, with an energy charge 1, she calls a Trick Moon from the drop, calling it behind Bavsargra, allowing her to counter charge 1. She then calls a Yuga Masha to the right side, and with its effect, she discards 1 arm card from her hand, Energy Blast 3, and draws 2 cards, giving Yuga Mashad an extra 5,000 power until the end of the turn. She then calls another Yuga Mashad, and using its effect, discards another armament card from her hand and draws another 2 cards. Damn, 4 draws, that's insane though. She then, with the effect of Bavsargra, she puts a card from her hand into the soul and arms from the drop another armament. She arms a Sealed Blaze Shield, Bodananov, and with its effect, she draws a card. She then calls 2 Sampadrus to the back row behind both the Yuga Mashad. She then calls out, theoretically, the strongest booster in her deck. She overdresses her Trick Moon into Verlord. And with Verlord's skill, she rearms a right deity sword Divinez from her drop to Bavsargra. Why does she do this? Well, because she wants to add another 5,000 power to the entire front row. Now her front row literally has 10,000 power increase for the rest of the turn. This is literally a Bavsargra player's dream. This is literally the perfect field. I can't think of any better field for a Bavsargra player. Okay, maybe there's one thing. But anyways, she Soul Blast 2 and retires the entire front row, and Bavsargra gets an extra critical. This is once again though, a part of the show that proves that Michiru is really careful about which cards he uses. Everyone is aware what Bavsargra's ability does, Soul Blast 2 and retires on a critical. But he only called out 2 grade 3s that can't intercept, and it's all for attacking. But also because when she does retire them, he still has his full hand to guard with. He doesn't have any grade 3s in there except his Persona Ride and maybe another Geodraw that he needs to use for next turn. He's planned it so that Ristal Gala and his Geodraw can go away and he'll have no problems. Once again, showing this man's planning ahead is second to none. By the way, just for context, he has 8 cards in his hand. She attacks with Yuga Mashad, boosted by Sampadru. This effect, if I understand math correctly, is 33,000 power for both Yuga Mashad. Michiru guards with 2 critical triggers. She then attacks with her other Yuga Mashad, and it's guarded with 1 heal trigger, 1 Litha Thargor, and 1 Bifrons. How on earth does Michiru have 4 Bifrons near the top of his deck? What the Now, I still don't understand even after watching this fight why he didn't use the drive check ability on Geodraw. If anyone knows why, tell me, because I'm pretty sure you just need to have 4 damage. You don't even need to Persona Ride. So I don't understand why he didn't do that. Now with Verlord boosting, she attacks with her Vanguard Bavsargra. With the sword's effect, she gets an extra drive, and with the dress boost from Verlord, the front row gets another 10,000 power. Bavsargra is at a whopping 41,000 power and 2 criticals. And considering he just used like 5 cards, he's only got 3 cards left in his hand. There is no what. He guards with an overtrigger. Well damn. She gets 3 drives. She gets the Trick Moon, a PG, and a critical trigger. She gives the power and critical to one of her Yuga Mashad, and then counterblast twice because they're 2 Yuga Mashad and restands both of them. Then, with the Samu Padru's skill, when a rearguard in the same column as it restands, you can also restand this unit and it gets another 5,000 power. She attacks with her left side Yuga Mashad at 58,000 power and 2 criticals, and it's blocked by Michiru's PG. She then activates Samu Padru's other effect, which is at the end that this card boosted an attack, she can put it into the soul and draw a card. She then attacks with her right side Yugamasha, which is at 48,000 power, and he no guards and gets hit, but this is a front trigger he's hit. She once again uses Samu Padru's effect and draws a card. She's at 8 cards in her hand, and we know that she's got 1 PG. Now looking back on this turn, I can only say that she would have won had she had hindsight. And I mean only with hindsight, because theoretically anybody would have played this turn the way she did with the amount of resources she had. But I'm going to break it down for a couple of reasons. Reason number 1, honestly having an OT, a PG, and not to mention 2 crits, then a heal is pretty lucky. But the reason I've been tracking his deck for now is to prove to you that it's not as hard as you may believe to get this type of hand. Yes, he's insanely lucky, but he didn't accidentally put the OT or something to the soul. But the fact is that he thinned his deck extremely well. There's the luck that he didn't put his OT into the soul, but other than that, he played a lot of Bifrons, used their effects very well, drew a lot of cards, and I honestly don't think it's too out of place to say that he could have gotten this hand. Second though, the most major problem she had was that she was very unlucky. That axe, the Tavashtar that went into the soul, specifically the Sealed Blaze axe Tavashtar, is extremely unlucky that she got that as a damage instead of getting it into her hand. Because its effect is, during the battle, your Vanguard attacks, your opponent must call 2 cards from her. Your opponent must call 2 cards to the Guardian Circle. And that means that Michiru would have had to either use a PG and a Bavsargra or some kind of normal unit or something, or he would have had to use an OT and another normal unit, meaning he might have had not enough to actually survive that turn without it. She was actually very unlucky getting that Tavashtar in the damage zone instead of the drop or something. It's theoretically an unlucky turn of events that this didn't happen, but it's only if she got a different hand with the axe. But the fact is that this is a trading card game, and like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh and all that, and that means there's some luck involved. She was unlucky that she didn't get Tavashtar in the drop or something, and that's not her fault. But now, it's the final turn. Turn 7 hits, and it's Michiru's turn. He draws, and with the effect of Gradual Magnus, at the start of the turn, he can put 2 cards from the drop zone into the soul. He puts a critical trigger and Bavsargra into the soul, a grade 0 and a grade 2. He then Persona rides Gradual Magnus. With its effect, he draws another card, and the front row gets another 10,000 power until the end of the turn. He then calls Geodraw, and with it, he again soul charges and then lets him Energy Blast 3, and he calls the Bavsargra he just put into the soul. He then calls another Folklore from his hand. It's now the battle, and let the battle commence. Gradual Magnus gives the front row 5,000 power, so it's a 15,000 power increase to the front row. He now boosts with Bifrons and attacks with Bavsargra, and if my math is correct, this attack is at 43,000 power. Mirei guards with a Blaze Maiden Cindy and 2 critical triggers, making this shield a whopping 48,000 power. Mirei is now down to only 5 cards. Now, usually, when you attack with a restander like Bavsargra, you usually don't boost with the back row. The reason he did that, I'm assuming, is because he wants to make sure that her hand is as low as possible. And even if he does restand, he still has the Persona Ride and Bavsargra's effect on top. So I don't think there's any problem with boosting here. It's just up to opinions and reading the situations mostly. He then follows up with the Soul of the 4 Flames. He Soul Blasts 4 cards with different grades and puts the Vanguard down to 0. Bavsargra Akshasha is going down. Gradual gets a critical, and it's at 36,000 power and 2 criticals. And of course, this time he uses the drive check skill. He then restands Bavsargra, and Mirei uses her Bodanana skill, and by soul blasting 1 card, she can give a Bavsargra a 20,000 power increase. Then she further guards with most likely 1 heal trigger or a critical trigger, then a draw trigger and a normal unit. Because I calculated that she only had 5 cards left in her hand after the first guard against Bavsargra, but she after this only had 2, meaning she had to use the rest of the 3. Mitu drive checks twice and doesn't get anything. That's pretty crazy actually. Probably got all the triggers in his soul or something. If you're a draw duel player, you know this feeling. He then boosts with Bifrons and attacks with Geodraw. With an attack of 36,000 power, then he uses the effect of Magnus that Geodraw was given. Michiru discards a card and gets a drive. but because of Geodraw's skill, he gets 2 drives. Now, Mirei's got 2 cards in her hand, a Bavsargra Persona Ride and a PG. But she's only at 4 damage. She can theoretically only endure 1 more attack. But considering that he's got a restood Lithosargor, she has to now block a Lithosargor and a restood Geodraw. So she makes the only possible choice, and this is the correct move here, people. She no guards. Michiru has 2 drives. He drive checks, he gets a Geodraw, and then a critical trigger. Geodraw gets the extra critical, and the Soul of the 4 Flames sets the Sealed Blaze on fire, and Mirei is defeated. She hits a Samu Padru and another Bavsargra. Could either of them have had different or even better games? Yes, but this is every TCG game imaginable, isn't it? None of the plays here were bad. Well, except Michiru not giving Geodraw the drive check. He still won, I'm just not sure why he didn't use the effect. Meanwhile, Mirei did everything correct. She didn't make any mistakes that I could see, and honestly just lost mainly due to luck. It's not a bad thing, it just happens. Anyways everyone, thank you for watching. I hope I did this analysis justice, and I will be doing others, just please give me some time, sorry. Hope you continue to watch and keep enjoying. Thanks everyone for now. I'll log off now, bye!